Thank you all for joining us today. It's ironic that my dad was here probably around 30 years ago. He was doing a similar thing in crutches at the time because he'd been imprisoned under the Ferjani regime, where he was really tortured to the point where he would be comatose for 5 days, his back was broken. But as soon as he left Tunisia, he lived in the UK in exile, and he was here advocating for the release of the political prisoners at the time. Like I said, it's not his first arrest. I was 3 years old when I witnessed the first time he was arrested. And like I said, the conditions weren't the best. And at the time, the repression was extremely intense. And while in Tunisia, we haven't reached that level of torture again, we're seeing all the signs that it's slowly going back there. I mean, with regards to, for instance, Judge Bashir Akmi, when he was mentioned, when they arrested him, they put him in a dark room, they played loud music, they drugged him, they wouldn't let him sleep. So we're noticing signs of slowly going back to what we used to have. My dad, for instance, is in prison. He's shares a cell with 120 people in a capacity of 60 people. They're all chain smokers. They have one public toilet in the middle of the cell. During the summer, where temperatures rose to around 45 degrees, there was infestations. They haven't cleaned it. And like I said, because of the smoking and the damp, my dad has been in and out of hospital with chest infections. He's never had to rely on an inhaler before, and he has an inhaler now. He's had issues with his heart, and in the prison that he's in, because it's away from the capital where most of the other prisons are, it's often neglected, and I think that a lot of the prison guards have been taking advantage of the fact that a lot of the prisoners that aren't in the capital are being purely for, I guess, logistical reasons, not seen as much. And so they're at the whims and the mercy of these prison guards, where at times they don't get any medical care or medical treatment until things are so bad that they're sent to hospital in emergency. But even then, still handcuffed and still in a police van. And that's the case for my father. That was the case for another prisoner called who has diabetes, and he doesn't get his medicine until, again, he's sent to hospital, and then they're scared that it could go too far. My father's case is actually complicated because it's completely absurd. So he's been charged with possibly being associated with a digital PR company. Now, this is something that probably most of the people in DC are somehow associated with some kind of PR company, a lobbying company. So you can imagine if you came here, 90% of the constituents here would be in jail purely for being associated with a digital company that sometimes does some lobbying work. And again, my father is not even associated with this company. In fact, when he was sent to prison, the judge himself said my father was never a suspect, and yet he was sent to be questioned about something he was never associated with, and sent to pre-trial detention while they searched for evidence. Now, the Tunisia before the coup, this was illegal, just the same way it would be illegal elsewhere. And also, just returning to the what we've mentioned here about the judiciary, we did go for we had an independent judiciary, and now we've got a judiciary that has been used and abused. And while there are some corrupt judges, there are many judges that are trying to do their work, and some, because they don't want to fall into the threats of the authoritarian regime, they are constantly taking sick leave so that they're not sending innocent people to jail. They are, when they have sent people to jail, they've been visibly crying and shaking. In the case of Judge Bashir Akmi, the judge that sent him to jail, his family contacted him and said, "Why did you send my father to jail?" And in fact, this guy, he was a student of Ferjani, and he said it was either him or me. So that's the place that the judiciary are in right now. Like we've mentioned before, the prisoners are from across the political spectrum. Another, and those who are willing to form a coalition as an opposition to the regime have been sent to prison, one of which is Aziz Shaweshi, who is a politician, a human rights activist, and a lawyer. He was sent to prison almost 8 months ago for the conspiracy against the state. Again, a very vague conspiracy. It could mean anything in Tunisia right now, but what we do know is that the sentence could lead to death for a lot of the prisoners. His son has been summoned because of his activist work in regards to his dad. He's been summoned under these broad cyber security crimes, and if he returns to Tunisia, he could be facing jail time too. I also want to mention that while we talk about political prisoners, we have had a death as well. In 2022, during one of the protests, the coalition protests against the authoritarian regime, Riyad Hussein was killed. He was at the protest. Initially, the government lied about where he was. Meanwhile, we found out later that the police took him, beat him up, and he was found dead in a hospital. And we need to also remember that there are people that I think haven't been mentioned because they're not necessarily prominent political figures. And just to go back to why I'm initially here, obviously we have been working in a coalition, especially the children of the political prisoners, and we're all from different, people that used to argue before from across the political aisles, human rights activists, judges, children, Islamists, left. We're all now working together. We're doing cases together. We're helping each other out. And I hope that people see that, well, we're working together for people to work with us as well. And just to get back to that, today, before this, I found out that my father has also been added to the conspiracy against the state case, where the charges are, again, the death penalty, and that he will be beginning his hunger strike tomorrow. And so I urge everyone to support, most of the people in prison now, especially the ones from Nahda, this isn't their first time. They're now in their late 60s, in their 70s, and in their 80s, and time is of the essence to help them.